All right, guys, we're going to try this again. Hopefully it will work. This is a lesson, a word to the wise, that you should test it out before you start doing them. Because sometimes you have technical difficulties. Google told me it was going to be really easy, but Google lied to me. All right, I'm going to delete. Okay, Charlene, let's try this again. Are you on your phone? Ooh, okay, hold on. Let me request you. Approve. It's adding you.
So I think it was because I was on my laptop that I could not join. And
okay.
My screen here is not good. Let me try to get some clarity on this phone here.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I think that was the situation as well. So now we know you can only do joint Facebook Lives when you're on your phone and you can't be on a laptop. So there we are.
Yep.
Cool. Well, hey, Laura Jane. So we've got two people. Well, Laura's on, and hopefully more people will jump on, and this will be recorded so people can watch it later. And I know we definitely had people that were interested. So let's just start out and Charlene, like introduce yourself, who you are, what your business is, where you live, all the interesting things about you.
Okay. Hey, everybody. So I am actually Dr. Charlene Lawson, and I am the CEO of Style Chemistry Consulting. I just launched my own personal styling biz, and I work with women that are in heels in business. I am originally from Warrenton, Virginia, small town, but now I reside in good old Houston, Texas. I am a mom of two outstanding young men. And yeah, so I just launched and I am looking to transition from my corporate job into becoming a full-time stylist here in the next year or two.
Cool. Yeah, and so you are actually one of my clients and beyond. So I wanted to just kind of ask you, how did you find out about it? And then why did you decide to hire me, for lack of a better word, to help you? And then I want to get into kind of your launch and like how that started, because I know people have a ton of questions about that.
Okay, sure. So I'm not exactly sure how I found Sydney. So I did graduate from the School of Style. I did their personal styling certification. And I think I sort of found her in passing in some of that private group.
Yeah, probably.
And just talking to some other business women, they really emphasize that you should have someone that is doing what you want to do and doing it well. And so I kind of stalked Sydney for a while and, checked out her website and her IG. And I just really, really liked her vibe and her business. And so I reached out for just like mentorship and guidance to help me to launch, because you don't know what you don't know. And I just really wanted someone to kind of help me to understand, behind the scenes and that has done it before.
Awesome. Cool. So. Thank you. Yeah. And that's exactly right. Like that was me like 5 years ago. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know what I don't know. And like, I basically had my own mentor and like coach to be like, okay, you need to do X, Y, and Z, and that's going to help you. So yeah, that was definitely instrumental. So you just launched. Exciting. It's a process. For all of the people, there's a ton of new stylists and beyond. There's people that are kind of part-time and they want to go full-time and they're just kind of launching. Like, what is kind of your best advice about like how to launch? What should you do? This is kind of like a very heavy question.
It is. So I will say that I found taking the personal styling certification through the School of Style was a great start for me.
Yeah.
because I will say that you probably, well, I would hope you have a natural eye for style, and that's like such a small, tiny part of starting your own business. And so really start understanding the business side of things. And I would start with taking some training in that area. And what else? Launching. So get your training on the business side. Really think about who, like, why are you doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And then like who it is that you want to help, and start really digging into, okay, you know, what my business look like, you know, what is going to be my niche. And then once you've defined that, really looking into, okay, you know, what are my clients' pain points, and then start working on forming your business around that.
Yeah.
So I think once you kind of have that down, then you can find a coach. Like, okay, here's what I kind of want to do. Can you help me to execute it?
Yeah. And you had a lot of that when we started working together. Like you had already kind of dove into like, okay, you did like market research, you knew who your ideal client was, but then we did some extra work around just like refining that and really like honing in and kind of doing a deeper dive on some of the areas, which I think is important because that makes you stand out and it makes you more recognizable to those ideal clients when you get them.
Yeah.
So let's see.
I was going to make a point there about the niching part.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So before talking to Sydney, I was thinking that, oh, well, I didn't want to like put myself into a box. But then she really explained to me the importance of really knowing like who your client is, like down to the core. And so I really emphasize that for you guys to get down to like everything about them, you know, what does their day look like? You know, where are they going on the weekends, and really understanding them. And it really helps you to lay out your packages, your content, as far as your like your IG and Facebook post, your messaging, all of that. It's all based around who your client is. So I just want to emphasize that.
A question about that. Were you like a little scared or hesitant to really kind of like narrow and like focus and say like, this is that like narrow niche for me, or like, this is who I'm targeting?
Yes. Yeah. Because you kind of like want to have as many options as you can. Right. But I guess I feel like that if you try to market to everybody, then your business it loses some of its what am I trying to say, Sydney? It just kind of loses some of its touch. You want to be like, you want to be that go-to person for your niche. So like for me, I like working with, so I was in and still am in, I'm in corporate America, and I'm also a scientist.
Yeah.
And so I really wanted to focus on women who were also in that corporate realm, maybe in science, technology, engineering, and math, or just busy working women.
Yeah.
And so I want to be that go-to stylist for busy working women.
Yeah.
And now I'm comfortable with having that as my niche.
Yes, definitely. So. It is. And I think that's the number one thing I hear from new people too, is like, oh, I don't want to like narrow down. I don't want to, you know, cut the market in half, or I want to have all of my options open, but you really can't market to everybody. Like if you try to market to everybody, nobody's going to identify with your service.
Right.
And that's not to say that you don't have to like work with a stay-at-home mom if she comes to you, right? Like you can take that client, or like you can take a male client. Like all of my marketing materials are for women. Like that's who I market to, but I do have like a male client, and like that's fine. Like, you know, I might have to adjust some things here or there, like, you know, brush up on how to, you know, work with men, because that's not who I normally work with, but you can still work with people even when your niche is like narrow. So I think that is definitely like really important. And I think that also kind of you discovered even too, like through this process of having your discovery calls, you've been having a lot of discovery calls this week. And like, so you had one where you kind of had a person come and you were like, this really isn't my ideal client. Like talk about that and like kind of what you like discovered from that process and like.
Sure. So, really having a clear idea of who your client is. So like when you do have people or a potential client and it maybe doesn't work out, you can't really beat yourself up because she may not be your, in your ideal client, right? So if I'm targeting, six-figure corporate women, and I have a young lady who may be interested in my services, but maybe she doesn't quite fit in um, that income bracket, then she may find my services to be like overpriced. But that doesn't mean that I go and change my prices to suit her, right? She's just not part of my ideal client, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think too, we kind of talked about how like you had someone that called it wasn't your ideal client, and so it was like, okay, I need to double down on figuring out where my ideal client is, and I need to go to those places. Right. Yeah. So like figuring out, okay, these six-figure business women are where I'm going, so I need to be going to these like entrepreneurial networking events, or I need to be going to these business events because that's where they're hanging out. They're not hanging out at like, I don't know, the mall, right? Because they're not teenagers. So yeah, definitely going to where they are for sure. So let's see. Do you have anything else you want to say about launching or like things that people should do? And like, so it's a lot of work to launch, right? And then the launch happens. And then what happens?
Oh gosh. So like when you're preparing for your launch, let me just kind of back up just a little bit. I would just like say, make sure you have like all of your services down, make sure you have your pricing in order, have a system to where, okay, you have your consultations, then what happens? How are you going to do? And this is what Sydney was really great with this. She said, okay, what's your system? And I'm like, well, I'm just going to have them pay me and we'll get started. But you have to really like think about, okay, are you going to send them like 10 different links? Or do you have a cohesive, streamless system to where they can book their appointment, make their payment, and that kind of thing? So really think about all of that. Yeah. And then once you launch, and then press release as well. So like do some pre-marketing. So whether it be like a countdown or send out a press release to some local avenues or what have you, do that as well. I did that with Sydney's help, and I did get a response from a very reputable local news magazine called Houstonia, and they have like 70K followers on IG. And so we're interviewing next week.
Yay. And you also got a radio interview, right? So that's something different.
Oh, yes. So just from posting on IG about my launch and the website, I also got an inquiry to do a radio interview as well. And I have a podcast also that I got from a IG lead. That's going to be tomorrow. Yep. So yeah, so promote yourself, promote your launch, and people will definitely draw and reach out to you and give you some more exposure.
Yeah, and you can also be like really proactive about those things too, right? So like we've been talking about now, okay, you sent out I think like 7 press releases. So it's like, okay, can you be even more proactive and send out 3 more? Like who else can you find? Like it's definitely good to get that stuff out there, but then you can't just like put it out there and then like hope, right, that everything's just going to come to you. You still have to continue to be proactive.
Yes. That brings me to my next point of like, you put so much work and effort into building a business. And then when you launch, sometimes, well, I know I thought, so this is just going to be so great. I have an awesome website. I've had a business coach. I've had training. I've learned all these technical skills as far as Facebook pixels and all this extra stuff. Like, this is going to be great. I've done Facebook ads. But the people don't really come rolling in. You still have to actively pursue them after you've launched. Yeah. So just getting your name out there. Like I'm in Houston, it's one of the largest cities in the United States. So there's a lot of people in Houston, and none of them really know who I am or about my business. So I just encourage you to launch, but then just continue to do Facebook lives and IG lives and get your face out there, show your expertise, let people get comfortable with you. do the press releases, keep sending those out even after you've done the first round, send the second round. And like me, networking. So I decided to go to at least 1 to 2 networking events every single week to meet women that are my target client, so I can start building up my clientele. So it's a lot. It's a lot.
It is, yeah. But I mean, you have to like go out, because like you said, like Houston is like a large city and no one knows who you are. And just because you put up a website, that doesn't mean anyone's going to know who you are, because they don't know who you are to even search for you. So you have to go out and, send the press releases, be proactive, be on social media, go to the networking events, which I think is like probably one of the best ways to help you in a launch, is really making those personal connections with people so that they get to know you. Hi, Katia. Katie is on Facebook. She's saying hi.
Hi, Katia.
Katia, we're interviewing Dr. Charlene Lawson. She has a PhD in chemistry, you guys. And she just launched her personal styling business. So we are talking about all things about launching. So if you have questions, leave them there. So Nicole had left a comment over on Facebook asking, what advice do you have for someone that is just launching? And I feel like we've kind of talked about that a lot, right? It's do a lot of that kind of back end prep work, whether it's, doing the research on Facebook ads and making sure you have systems in place so that when you do get a client, there's that like smooth process of getting them in, and it doesn't all fall to pieces, right? Once you get them, you kind of have that good professional interaction all the way through. We've talked about networking and strategies for continuing to get your name out there. And so then that was, go ahead.
Let me jump in here, Cindy. I also want to say that when you do launch, like I did have some high expectations, and that's okay. You should be optimistic and excited about your business. But if things don't come through, like don't get easily discouraged. Like, for example, I had 5 consultations that were booked when I launched my first week, but I'm still working on like actually securing my first client,
get that money,
right? And so, yeah, I need to get the money. So, but I'm just still trying to be positive and optimistic about it.
Yeah.
And just, you're not going to book every single client that speaks to you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't book every single client that I talk to. Like I've probably had, I don't know, 3 or maybe 5 total consults, and I think I've booked 2 of them within the past like several weeks. So it's like, you can be in business for a very long time and still not necessarily book every single person that comes to you for whatever reason. Maybe it's just not the right time, and you never know when those people are going to come back. But I definitely, like be excited and have goals, but I almost think it's like, don't take it personally, or like, don't get super sad or like depressed or thinking that like your business is a failure because things don't go according to like how you think they should go. It does and can take a long time. No, I won't say a long time, but it does take a little bit of time to really get that momentum and get the word out there, especially if, like you said, no one knows who you are yet. So, you have to kind of do that. So Natalie had asked on Facebook, have you found any good go-to marketing strategies outside of social media for when you're just starting out and don't have referrals yet? Which I think we kind of talked about, right? We talked about a lot of that in-person networking, which I think is a really great way to kind of get some of those clients. What else do you think? What else are you doing to kind of do that marketing?
Right. Well, I don't encourage to give away too much free stuff. Sometimes you do have chances to where you can do like a charity event of some sort to kind of get your name out there. So, for example, I found a high-end women's group and they're doing a retreat for working moms, and they wanted to have some donations for their swag bags. And so I offered like a partial virtual detox. And in exchange, they've offered me to have my logo displayed, to put my business card in the swag bags for each mom there. And then also whoever does win the detox, they have to come back and give a testimony to the rest of the women. And so that could, turn into something, really great.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I love that because, I mean, that's something that you basically like you controlled the narrative of how that donation went, right? Like you could have just said, okay, I'm going to give them this like VIP $1,000 service, which then you would have had to do basically for free because it was a charity donation, right? Like you're not getting paid for it. But you were able to say like, let me do this small offering. And then in return, they have to give me a testimonial and they have to give it to like all of these other women who are my ideal clients. And I think that's a really important note is like, you don't have to necessarily just accept something that someone comes to you with. Like you can make that work for you and you should, like, it's your business. Like you should try to see like, how are you going to benefit from it and how can you get your name out there? So yeah, so that's awesome. I love that. So let's see, you talked a little bit about systems and organization. So Sue asked over on Facebook earlier, she said, what recommendations do you have for systems or like what organizational methods are you using?
Yeah, so Sydney and I had a whole session on systems, which was really, really helpful. And she told me about HubSpot, which I love. So this is like a really comprehensive system that allows you to not only keep track of like all of your clients, but where you are like in the booking process, right? And so, and you can also track like your emails, which is great. So for example, say you have a consultation and then you send them a follow-up email. You can see whether they're just ignoring you or if it's not been opened, and you have an idea of sort of how to move forward from that point. And you can also even track and see if you send an email and you include links to the site and so forth, you can see if they've gone, where they've gone, and that type of information. So, and that's free, you guys. Like HubSpot it's pretty dope.
Somebody else told me about it and I started using it. And so if you guys are interested, it's HubSpot.com. I think they probably have paid features, but you can use most of it for free. And it's a really great organizational system for keeping track of leads and prospects and knowing, what you need to do next for that client.
In your task.
Yeah.
You can put in, it'll remind you of what you have to do next. You can put due dates.
That's awesome.
And what else does it do? So you can so there's like a Chrome extension that you can put into like your toolbar, and it like integrates your Gmail. I mean, it's really, really seamless. So yeah, great tool to use for organization and for systems.
Yeah, love it. Okay, I think that was all of the Facebook questions. What, do you have anything else? I'm trying to look at our notes that we had. I guess, like, what are you most excited about, like, over the next kind of few weeks and months? Like, you've just launched, so what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I am excited about changing some lives and making some money in the process.
Yes, love it.
Just really booking my first official client since I've launched, and going through like all of my processes and making sure that everything goes smoothly, and then getting paid for it. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I hear you, right? So one thing, and I didn't have this in our notes, but I know a lot of people are probably in a similar situation where they have a job or they have a day job and a part-time job, but they also have the personal styling thing that they want to do. So could you talk a little bit about that for you? Because you also work full-time, right? And then you just launched this business, and then you have a family. Like, what does that look like for you? How do you kind of
it looks very busy. I think that if you have the passion for your business, that you'll make it work, and that's what I do. I do my best to do my 9-to-5 work 9 to 5, but it's really, really hard. I sneak in some style chemistry stuff throughout the day, but like my day, pretty much I get up, I'll do my regular job, and then I come home and I do my business, and then I work all weekend pretty much on my own business. And that's sort of how I try to balance things
Yeah.
out. But I've had a lot of sleepless nights, and been tired lately.
Right.
And I really want to just kind of, so like what I do now, because there's just so much to learn, like, if you want to have a newsletter, how do you use MailChimp? If you want to create Facebook ads, how do you install pixels to track your audience? There's just so much to learn on the business side of it. And so what I've done is I make a list. Okay, I'm going to tackle MailChimp this Monday and Tuesday of this week. And then I'll look into, how I can better utilize IG Wednesday and Thursday. So just really kind of lay out tasks that you can check off throughout the week so you don't get too overwhelmed.
Yeah, that's awesome. I definitely, I don't subscribe to the, you have to, grind and hustle, for the rest of your life to be successful. But I do think there is a period of time where, you will be working really hard, right? To then create the life that you want so that later on, you'll still be working hard, but you won't have to work as hard, right? And that can sometimes take a little while. But yeah, so that's awesome that you're able to do that. Because I do think there's a lot of people on here that have that. And I know I had that for a long time too. I had a full-time job and then I had my styling on the side, and fitting it all in was a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. But like I say, I think that if you want it bad enough, then you'll figure it out. Just don't overwhelm yourself.
Yeah, definitely. So you definitely are planning at some point to make that transition, right, to full-time style chemistry. So what is
Absolutely.
you're very much a planner, and kind of you have these milestones. So where do you see, when you see yourself making that transition, what does that kind of roadmap look for you, like for you?
So ideally, I would like to transition full-time within the next 2 years is my plan. Of course, I'm a mom, so I have to consider insurance and things like that. So I'm kind of figure all that out now so that I can make the leap when I'm ready.
Yeah.
But it kind of just depends on how things go. But I'm going to be putting in the work to make it happen.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Well, I think we've chatted for 30 minutes or so now. Do you have any final things that you want to tell everybody who is launching or starting to launch or wanting to launch? Leave them with some wise words of wisdom from Dr. Charlene Lawson.
Yeah, I would say first off is you don't do this by yourself. You have the Beyond group here to support you and to help you. But I would encourage you to look into someone like Sydney who's willing to help you and walk you through the process. Seriously, not because she's my coach or I'm trying to put her a plug in. Yeah, she didn't put me up to this. No, but seriously, just having someone you can bounce ideas off and that can just kind of keep it real with you. We went go through your services with them. Does this how does this look? And just to kind of really guide you and hold your hand a bit through this whole process. So I would encourage that. And just know that I think that more than anything, you're going to become a businesswoman first and a stylist second. And so just keeping that in mind and learning, what all comes with having your own business.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yes. Because I think you probably will see this too. We end up spending more time doing the admin and invoicing and doing your books and the marketing than sometimes you end up doing the actual styling, especially if you own your own business. So
yep.
That's awesome.
And stay encouraged, stay positive. I know for me, I was terrified of my first Facebook Live. I mean, I was literally terrified, guys. But once I did it and got it out the way, I felt much better. Now I'm more comfortable. So face your fears, have the nerve to do what you want to do and to chase your dreams. And it's all going to be okay. And if you don't succeed and book clients, right away, that's okay too. It takes time. Just kind of stay encouraged and keep pushing forward.
Yeah, so. That's awesome. I don't think I could said it any better. So cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking about just your process of launching and where you are and just being open and honest. I think people will really get a lot out of it, especially when people go back and rewatch. So thank you for for sharing your time. And for you guys that are watching, if you guys are interested, Charlene and I are going to do another Instagram live next week. I don't know. I don't think or like in
next Wednesday.
We're going to do it on Chic Stripe. So we're going to actually be talking about styling stuff and not business stuff. But Charlene is going to share some information on basically, tell us your topic. How to dress.
Oh, I'm going to be talking about, so we have spring and summer on the horizon. And so because my clients are professional women, I'm going to talk about how you can still be stylish and sleek in the workplace while also being polished and professional and dressed for spring and summer.
Yeah.
So we'll get into some tips and tricks for that. So join us next Wednesday and follow me on Facebook and IG at Style Chemistry Consulting. And if you have any questions, you can always hit me up, send me a message, and I will be glad to chat with you.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Well, we will see you guys in beyond and have a wonderful night, everybody. Thank you, Charlene. Thank you guys for watching. All right, bye.
No problem.